There we go.
You actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast. Cocaine. Cocaine, really. Cocaine. Cocaine, really.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie, the official K-State podcast of the College Huddle. And if you are not already, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and follow the podcast on Apple or Spotify podcasts. Rate the show, like the video, do all the things. It helps us out tremendously. And ladies and gentlemen, we got him. The number 2 transfer in the entire portal cycle, according to Evan Miyakawa. Coleman Hawkins announced his commitment late last week, and he is officially signed and a member of the 2024-25 K-State men's basketball roster. He has filled up the 13th and final scholarship roster spot in what also Evan Miyakawa has ranked as the number 3 transfer portal class in all of Division I men's basketball. To share his thoughts and experience of watching and covering Hawkins at Illinois the past 4 years, we have Ryan Evans of the College Huddle's very own Illinois podcast, Keepin It Orange and Blue. Ryan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm glad we could make this happen. And I heard you guys are a rowdy, fun bunch, so I figured I'd jump on. I talked to some different guys, Eric and some of the guys from the Ohio pod and the guys that kind of started the huddle. And they're like, oh, they're a great group of guys, So, and I'm like, well, you know what? Since Coleman Hawkins chose to go to K-State, I'm like, man, let's do something. So I'm glad it worked out.
Absolutely, we are a rowdy bunch indeed. Coleman Hawkins, he's a cat, and it looks like he's going to be playing more of a wing type of role based on everything we've gathered. We've got 2-3 other big guys who are around the same size, and just thinking about Hawkins and his role that he had at Illinois and given some of the height of the guys that we have at K-State currently, I guess just tell us a little bit more about Hawkins's game from his time at Illinois, because he's going to be adjusting to a slightly different role coming into K-State. But just tell us a little bit more about his game at Illinois and how you think he's going to adjust to playing more of that wing type of role.
I know he's going to adjust well. I think the biggest reason that he wanted, I'm not going to say wouldn't have come back to Illinois had they not recruited a bunch of other guys, but he did say he did his 4 years and, he didn't want to play the 5 anymore. I'm just going to keep it real. So that's like keeping it orange and blue. So I say keeping it real. And I know you guys do that too, but so he had to play a lot of the 5 last year. Jay Bagan, stop. I'll pay you later. So he had to play the 5 a lot last year because they couldn't really count on Dane Danger, a 5-man who ended up transferring to Memphis with Penny Hardaway at the end of the year. And so those minutes had to be by somebody. And Coleman, for you K-State fans, you're going to love his versatility. That's a huge word for you guys. He's so versatile that he just couldn't. You really just didn't want him off the floor. I'm just going to be honest too. It's like I think if you guys look, I'm sure you're a stats guy, right, Bob?
We like stats. We're not a math pod, but we do like stats.
Okay, so I believe he was
math pod.
He was in the top 20 in defensive efficiency rating, I believe. So I want you guys to know that, meaning that's how valuable he was to have on the floor. He just knows he was really like a coach out there for Brad Underwood. Brad said that in many of his press conferences and towards the end of the year, when things were winding down, like he's just been so special because he's like a coach out there. He understands the game, the philosophies. His IQ is just off the charts. And while once in a while he may make some silly fouls, he's a very good rim protector too for being 220, 25 pounds. The only times he would struggle defensively is when they would make him try to guard guys like Zach Edey, and guys he had no business guarding. Let's just be honest. But when he was the 5, if they'd throw the ball down into, let's say, a Julian Reese, Zach Edey, some of these really big guys that were 240 to 290, they would be able to take advantage of him in the post, backing him down and stuff. But really, that was where his defensive liabilities ended, because he still was able to block shots, alter shots. He got so many strip steals throughout the year of ball handlers trying to drive in the lane. And also he would take the ball from big men who were trying to back him down. So versatility is huge with him. And, as we delve more into it, he just got better every year. If for all the people who, don't like his stats, if you look at him from his first year all the way till his last year, they just got better, every year. And that's how it should be. But really, I think defensive efficiency and his 3-point shooting for a wing, a stretch kind of wing, is going to be very valuable for you guys.
So just from kind of seeing him on social media, you can tell that he has a pretty big personality, at least from what it seems like. And especially during the recruitment, we were seeing him post a lot on what was formerly known as Twitter and whatnot. So what can we expect from him when it comes to not just his kind of off the court antics that we're seeing on social media, and antics makes it sound negative, but just, his off the court personality versus who he is on the court?
That's what makes him special is his just goofy persona and his, king troll on social media. But when it comes down to it, on the court, he flips that switch. He's not a goofball on the court or doesn't take things serious. If anything, I would say he's uber ultra competitive, which is good. That's one of the things I loved, is that there'd be guys talking smack to him on the court, and he'd always give it right back to them. And he never backed down from a challenge. And you just knew that, nobody was going to intimidate him. And, and one thing I want to add too here, it was such a fun transformation for Illinois fans in Coleman, because his first couple years, the fans were on him hard. I think when you're 18, 19, you're immature, you're probably immature at 22, but I would say immature, but he became a guy that fans really were just like, about. If he leaves, he leaves, till his last year where nobody wanted him to leave. And he was so valuable for the team that, he's become a big beloved guy in the program, and that fans always, cherish his 4 years at Illinois. And, but I just love that for him, because I just remember years where some of his antics would wear off on some of the Illini fans. And then by the time it's like, please, Coleman, come back for a 5th year, So I'm just glad that he got the bag, which is great. Plus, he's getting to go to Kansas State's a winning basketball program. Plus, he wanted to go to a football school that's good at football. Illinois has been up and down. K-State's got a very good tradition with football as well. So I'm happy all those boxes were checked for him.
Yeah, and you brought it up earlier in your little answer right there, that he goes back and forth. He'll talk smack, and we got one of those guys that he's familiar with from the Big Ten in his Michigan days in Hunter Dickinson, and we saw it on social media, him going back and forth. The tweets were firing off. What do you remember about their matchups going against Michigan? Michigan was pretty good back when Hunter Dickinson was there. Do you remember any of the back and forth on the court, especially between those two?
Oh, yeah. So Hunter and Coleman always had, words at each other. And at the end of the day, Hunter Dickinson never beat Illinois in his career. So I want to tell you, Coleman Hawkins will always have that. He'll always have the checkmate. You can't, Hunter Dickinson had some All-American honors that Coleman can't talk about. But at the end of the day, just remember this: Coleman 3 Big Ten titles, and never lost to Hunter Dickinson. So Coleman will always have the advantage in that. But yeah, Hunter, I will tell you what, Dickinson was a guy who he talked so much smack about he hates Illinois fans and we're annoying, blah, blah, blah. But then he came to respect the Illinois fans because he knew and he saw how Illinois fans defend Coleman and how he defended Terrence Shannon Jr. and how just loyal bunch that, will always stick up for our guys no matter what. And I mean lightly of Terrence Shannon Jr. I think everybody around the program knew his innocence. You can't always just talk about what everybody's got going on, but we all knew behind the scenes what was really going on. So, but yeah, we're a loyal bunch, and I'm glad that Coleman can at least say, "Hey, I never lost to you."
Yeah, let's hope that he continues that that winning streak versus Hunter Dickinson, because he's only been here a short time. Obviously, just signed recently. And, the fans have already flocked to him trying to, latch on, and he's going to be the focal point of the program, basically front and center. And if he pulls out 2 wins versus Hunter Dickinson versus KU in a sweep, I don't know if we'll build statues, but, it's on the precipice of it because that shit is remembered forever.
I can tell you, I think he's at least good for 1 this year. You guys are going to get him. You guys will get him this year. I already know it. And you guys got him last year without him.
Yeah, I mean, Tang's 500 versus 500 versus KU. So, I mean, realistically, the track record is we always get 1 under Tang, but we want that sweep because that's really what would put us over the edge.
Sweep. By the way, and this isn't me being so I don't know. There has to have been a year in there somewhere, maybe even in the Weber years. Did you sweep them 1 year?
We haven't beaten them in Lawrence since Jim Woolridge was the head coach in 2005.
All right. Well, I thought you might have beat. Okay. Did you beat them at home 1 year and then in the Big 12 tournament at least 2 times?
No.
Okay. No, you haven't got
this. It's been so long since we've beat them twice in a season. It's kind of crazy. It is. Right. It's one of those. This is one of those rivalries where, in basketball, like it's almost impossible that we could really ever talk trash about it, and likewise for football for them that they can't say anything to us. So we're kind of like, yin and yang on the sports spectrum.
Yeah. Well, I need to double check on who all Tang's grabbed besides him this year. But I mean, I knew there was talent on your guys' team last season. So I watched plenty of games, just for different reasons. One of the guys who does our podcast, who jumps in our podcast, his name's Matt McCumber. He was actually the sports, and I think the sports. I'm trying to think what it was like. One of the staffers on Bruce Weber's staff when Chester Frazier was an assistant, and so he's got KSU blood still. He loves Manhattan, and he always talks great about it. And so we talk usually about what goes on with Case, and of course. Weber was our guy for so long, and I always checked in on that when he was there. But I still enjoy the Kansas matchups. So besides Hawkins, what was another one? A couple of your big additions that you guys had this year?
Ugonna Onyenso came from Kentucky. He's like 7-footer from Kentucky. We got a Chor from Samford, who was one of the best available guys at that point in time as well. He dropped 30 points on KU in that game that Samford played against KU in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. CJ Jones and Max Jones.
I mean, you're forgetting Doug McDaniel,
from Michigan. Yeah,
who played at Michigan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think
he was the first guy that we landed out of the portal, and we were all, this is going to be an interesting class. This is going to be a good class.
And seeing McDaniel play a couple times, as long as his head's on and he's focused 100%, he's a good player. I think there was just so much stuff going on with him last year, and Juwan Howard distraction. I think that was just the biggest thing. Is that I don't believe you guys are going to have that issue. I don't think Tang plays that. And who are some of your key returners? You guys had who was that? Who's your small point guard? You guys, did he graduate or is he going to be back this year?
Yeah, we only returned 3 guys, and one of them was a contributor. Everybody else is we're freshmen, or just basic ride the bench kind of guys. So David Gasson, He's a returner. He's been with Tang ever since he's gotten to Kansas State. So he's our lone guy that's, probably going to contribute off the bench. But everybody else, it's like the Deion Sanders effect where we're just flipping rosters every year. So
all right. I know you want to get back to Coleman, so I got some stats for you. Whatever I know you got a couple fan questions or at least one. So whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we've got a few, and this next question comes from Ryan Boone at cooking_with_gas. Opposing teams are pointing out that Coleman's basic stats aren't extraordinary on paper. It's 12-6. Yet professionals are ranking him near the best of the best. When we talk about Evan Miyakawa, who I referenced earlier on the podcast during the introduction, Evan has him ranked as the number 2 guy available in the entire portal cycle. And then he has us ranked as the 3rd best total transfer portal class in aggregate in Division I. So I guess the question is, what does he do on the court? I know you talked a little bit about his leadership and some of the other maybe intangibles, but what does he do on the court that's not necessarily showing up in his paper stats? If you want to unpack that a little bit.
Well, and I already began talking about it, but I mean, if you really think about it, when you've got a leader on the floor, a general, a versatile guy who shoots 37% from 3, and really it was around 40. And he kind of, in the Big Ten tournament, he had a couple games where he was like 0 for 10, and that dropped his percentage down some. But then he picked it back up in the NCAA tournament. But a guy who's going to shoot you around close to 40% from 3, who shoots 80% from the free throw line, who, you say, okay, in 6 boards, 2.7 assists a game from a guy 6'10", 6'11", okay? He is almost 6'11". I just want everybody to know that. He not only is a very good passer, as I just mentioned, 3 assists a game, he's going to get you almost 2 steals a game too. So I mentioned 1.5 steals a game. So literally a guy that you can't leave open. Jacob, oh my gosh, stop. Okay.
Ryan Evans is
you guys are too much. All right. I have a Discord channel that I post a lot of good stuff between our podcasts, and I have a bunch of – do you guys have a Discord? Because you should if you don't.
We've got the Big 12 Huddle Discord, yeah.
Okay, so that's fun if you can get everybody jumping in. But, yeah, so you have a guy out there that you can't leave open from 3, right, that – you really don't want to foul around the basket because he's going to shoot 80% from the line. And you don't want to leave the ball out in front of him because he's going to take it from you. And you don't want to hold it where he can block it. He's around 2 blocks a game. He's just a guy that can do everything. And he's a leader, not only the leader out there, but his IQ is just off the charts. Plus, defensively, you're probably going to be your best defensive player as well. So you just take all that into consideration. And while the numbers may not say 12-6 may not be sexy, remember this. He also had Terrence Shannon Jr., who averaged 23 a game, who took a nice chunk of shots and got to the line a lot. And they had Marcus Damask, who was a first-team All-Big Ten player who averaged 18 points a game. Remember this. I want everybody to know that too. Coleman Hawkins was not the first or second option on Illinois last year.
Now,
he was a lot of times the 3rd option, and he was okay. He's very unselfish too. Very unselfish.
But that's the thing I want to get to, because the numbers, he was playing 3rd behind those guys, and we're going to ask him to be the 1 or the 2, which is fine. I'm sure he can step up and be that guy, but at the position that we're playing him, we're going to be playing him more than likely at the 3. And he doesn't want to play the 5, but everything that we've seen, he's been playing the 4 or the 5. Do you think he would be able to fit around a guy that's also 6'9", that's also 7 foot down in the post? Do you think his game translate to the wing, where he can step up and be that 15 to 16 point a game kind of guy?
He can. I think if he takes a couple more shots a game, I think Brad Underwood got onto him a lot because he would pass up open shots trying to be unselfish. I think if he opened that up a lot towards the middle to end of last year. So if Jerome Tang tells him, "Hey, shoot it, man. I want you shooting. You're our guy. Take the shots. I have no doubt in my mind he could average 14 to 16 points a game next year.
I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, from the Illinois perspective, it seems like the reception has been pretty good about him leaving the program. We saw a comment here that was shown, love that Hawkins went to K-State, take care of him for us, almost as, Illinois as a fan base is very appreciative of what he's done and look to be sad that he's not, going to be with the program anymore. Is that a correct assumption from an outsider's point of view that the Illinois fan base is pretty positive about him leaving the program?
Yes. There's always a small minority or percentage that maybe still a little butthurt that why couldn't he come back? We had money. He could have came back. We didn't need to recruit this person or that person. Well, you got to remember too, you got to think from the coach's perspective. He went to the draft process to try to play in the NBA. He wants to play in the NBA. And yes, he's making a lot of money next year at K-State. But let's say he could have got a first-round guarantee from the Pelicans or something, where he knew you're going to get $4 or $5 million, whatever signing bonus. Dude, he would be in the NBA right now. Okay, so that's what he was trying to do. And Brad Underwood said, "We love you. You gave us 4 years. You graduated. You got 3 Big Ten titles, the third best season in Illinois history, 29 wins, an Elite Eight. You've almost done everything you can do at Illinois besides get to a Final Four. Thank you. Thank you for coming here." But he knows it's a business too. College basketball is a business. And if he's in there doing his thing but can't give Illinois a promise he's coming back, and if Illinois sits on their thumbs, then guess what? You're going to be behind. So they had to go get guys like Ben Humberkaus from Evansville, who's going to probably start at the 4. You had to go to Europe and get a big like Tomislava Visic, and they got a Lithuanian kid who's already in the mock 2025 class, Kasparis Jassionis. They had to go do these things because Kerry Booth from Notre Dame, because if you didn't, and then what? Like you just hope and pray that he came back, and then you're in the hole, and everybody else filled their roster up. So Coleman understood that while he was going to pursue his dream, Brad Underwood and the staff had to do what was best for the program, and it's okay. Like there is no hard feelings because Coleman assured every Illini fan plus the coaching staff, hey, I won't go to a Big Ten team. I promise. I got way too much respect for you guys to do that. And Brad Underwood Brad Underwood didn't know it would be his alma mater though. And I think he's okay with that I think he likes it behind closed doors. He's like, oh, you're going to K-State? All right. You're going to help him out? All right, I can dig it.
Yeah, and a quick plug to the 3 Pod real quick, because they did an interview with Brad Underwood, 2-part interview last week, and he had nothing but glowing things to say about K-State. And it was funny because the timing of that podcast interview when it dropped, he mentions Coleman Hawkins as being one of the key players on last year's squad and what you were able to accomplish in making the Elite Eight run last year with Coleman. So it was funny. I think behind closed doors, it would be like if a Baylor player transferred to K-State. Like Scott Drew's probably not mad about that at the end of the day, because it would be a guy that's had, but
I wish
he and Tanger brothers. He and Tanger
before we're up, I wish you guys one of you could find my favorite is his TikTok where he trolls Maryland. He's got the Maryland shirt on after they beat him in College Park, and they're on the airplane. But it's, and mainly so I want you guys to know behind the scenes of that. Maryland came into Champaign and beat Illinois. They lost 2 games at home this year. Purdue beat them in a nail biter at the end of the year, really to decide the regular season. And Illinois lost to Purdue at home by a few points. But they were rolling, they were ranked, and Maryland came in and got them on a Sunday afternoon when they just couldn't make shots. And Maryland was lippy. They were just saying nasty stuff. And when you lose like that in your home court and the other team's rubbing it in your face, you're going to remember that. So when they went to College Park, they returned the favor. So they also had these shirts because it was a remembrance of like 20-year anniversary or something, and they were trying to just give away these shirts to all the students. So he snagged one and he put it on the team plan and was like showing everybody like, oh, you thought you were going to beat us, having a special to get all these students to come to the game? Like that's the kind of stuff he does. So
That's the next level.
Yeah, it was good. So it was. Those are the things that we remember about Coleman. One other thing that we do is that he never fouls either. I just want you guys to know that. So anytime he gets a foul called, this is what he does. He goes, and his mouth's always open, and we're always like, so many times I'm like, Coleman, just it's like, yes, you fouled, bro, you fouled. But it was a thing that the first couple years it wasn't funny to us because it was like, you're averaging 6 points a game and you got 4 fouls in 20 minutes, and you're like, I didn't foul anybody. But when you're a senior and you're one of the best defenders in the Big Ten, and you're somebody that you just can't have off the floor, you just laugh at that stuff. So, but yeah, it's all good from Illini fans. Again, one of the most endearing guys I think Illini fans always talk about, and you guys are going to have a great year with them. I don't know why you wouldn't. So as long as there's health, I think there's going to be wealth.
I like hearing that. And what you were just saying in that last question, bringing the memories back. That's what we do on this podcast. We're guys talking ball. I want to know some of your favorite memories of Coleman Hawkins. Give me some games that, just come to mind, and give me some of those highlights.
Yeah.
Paint a picture for me.
Okay. So of this year, I've got my stat machine here. So of this year, one of my favorite games was at Michigan. Okay. So let's look at his stat line from Michigan. There's another that whole Juwan Howard thing. Illinois, they purposely, even though Dickinson wasn't on this year's team, they just had so much. They've had some bad blood with Juwan Howard's teams over the past 4 or 5 years, and so at Michigan, let's look at his stat line. 21 points. Let's see, 10 rebounds. How many blocks did he have that game? Let's see. 6 blocks. Okay.
Nasty work.
4 assists. Okay, I'm just saying, let's think about that. He's going up against bigger dudes. Like they had a kid who transferred to UConn with Dan Hurley.
Yeah, Reed. We
Reed.
recruited him at K-State, and it was like our first big, and we kind of passed him up when everybody here at K-State was freaking out. Like we're passing on kids that are going to UConn. What are we doing?
But that dude's a load. He's like 6'10", 250, and Coleman blocked his 6 blocks. Like I said, 4 assists, 21 points, 10 boards. Like he was just all over. If anybody have fun, it's on the YouTube machine. You guys can watch the replay, the highlights of Coleman on that day. And then I would say one more a good game from one of my other favorite games. I'm pretty sure he had a triple-double earlier in his career. Yeah, I'll have to look up the year he had it, but I think it was either his sophomore or junior year. I'll look it up here. But I would say triple-double.
We've got Justin tapping in here again, the Sweet 16 versus Iowa State. He hit a dagger 3 late second half.
Yep, so Coleman Hawkins had a triple-double against Syracuse his his junior season, correct. He had 15 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds, you guys. Okay. So just think about that. So a guy 6'10" that can drop dimes, hit open shots, and get the boards when you need them.
We've never had a triple-double here at K-State, have we?
What?
I don't think we've had a triple-double.
I mean, maybe Mitch Richmond or something did back in the day. I don't know.
Part of me thinks Beasley might have had one.
I feel like Marquise Noel almost had one Tang's first year,
He did
and
almost have one.
And they were like, "Oh, that would be the first one in K-State history." I swear to God, I remember hearing that. So, a guy that could put up a triple-double, that gets me excited.
Yeah. So he was close to a triple double a couple times. Other than that, but then let's see, it's sophomore. Yeah, it was his sophomore year when his freshman season, he played back. He didn't play tons because they had Io DeSumo and Kofi Coburn. Oh boy, how I miss Coburn.
Coburn was
when you got a 7 foot, 295-pound Goliath, you just miss those days. And Brad has since transitioned his program away from that because he likes to play positionless kind of, and you can't really do that with a guy who's takes up the whole paint, But yeah, but then his sophomore years where he really broke out at home, they were down 15 at home to Iowa on the very last game of the year and if they won, they split the Big Ten with Wisconsin. Coleman came in and hit some huge threes in that second half where, shots weren't falling, but he wasn't afraid to come in and step up and take big shots. And what Illini Dave just said, he's just got a lot of intangibles and mental fortitude that, like I said, nothing's really too big for him. So that's another thing.
For sure. And Justin had tapped in with a comment about the Sweet 16 matchup versus Iowa State, hitting a dagger 3 late in the second half. That brings me to my next question, which comes from Roly Poly Coley, aka friend of the show, Coley Dub. What is your favorite Coleman Hawkins tweet or social media moment? Mine is already when he was trolling Iowa State fans when he was on his official visit at K-State with a picture of him literally dunking on Iowa State.
Yeah, that's great.
Game. But what is yours? What's your favorite social media moment or tweet from Brad?
I don't know. Are you good, Chef? Are you good at pulling up stuff? And are you able to? Or how much can you? How much?
It depends on what it is. I'll give it a quick Goog. I'm not.
Look, if you're able to insert it in so we could watch it live, I know I can handle. I know I do that on what I've got, but it's the Maryland one because the whole team participated and Coleman was in there with his Maryland shirt and the music that was playing on the TikTok was perfect. I just wish we'd be able to find it and you could plug it in here. It's great. It's really worth the watch. I know even if some people can't, I'll look for it while you're here and I'll see if there's a specific name for it. But I know it's on his. Do you guys have him on TikTok or is all his socials and stuff?
I've only added him on Twitter. I need to get on the Instagram. I don't have TikTok personally myself, but his whole Jeff Goodman calls him Trollman Hawkins. I mean, that's just like a perfect nickname that's already like embedded. If he can just keep this pace, I'm telling you, we K-State and Illinois fans from the sound of it are very, very similar. And we're just gonna latch onto this guy for his final year. 1 year, we're paying him good amount of money. Supposedly, we'll see where that ends up. But man, oh man, if he does what all the stuff that he puts out on social media, if he backs it up, this dude is going to be a legend.
Yeah. So that game was back in February. We'd have to dive back into it. If not, either way, I'll find it and then I'll tag you guys on your social media so you can enjoy it. But yeah, he did a lot of stuff like that. But remember, during the year, he really wasn't able to yeah. Hold on. Announced his transfer 2 years ago, and Hawkins went from trolling Michigan to flirting with Hunter. He's an effing riot. Yeah. But yeah, he couldn't do a lot of that during the season because Brad Underwood would always be like, let's focus on the year, guys. He would do that after victories and stuff, but he wasn't really tweeting anything in particular other than maybe some videos and stuff like that. But again, I hope you guys he's going to make his own fun memories for social media with you guys. And hopefully they top what he did with Illinois for sure.
Can't wait.
Yeah, we're gonna soak that in. That's for sure. Going back to him as a player, one more year in college. Basically, this is another prep year and getting him to the NBA. So, what would you want to see him improve with his game in this final year of eligibility?
And I got to be honest too. I think just his 100% maturity on the court. I don't know if you guys saw it. There were some articles from some GMs who said like the game's there, I think he probably would have got drafted in the mid to late second round if he'd have stayed in. There were moments where I told you guys about the foul stuff, where sometimes it's like, just keep playing. Stop worrying about it. Stop giving the official your ear. Stop giving the official your lip. Just keep going. And I'm not saying that it hurts the team at all, but trust me, those officials know what he does, and they're not going to give you a special answer or not blow the whistle differently because you're pissed off. I think a lot of it is just play the game. Don't stop. You can't control the referees, and just focus on that stuff. I don't believe the GMs are going to worry as much about, did he post a TikTok if they beat Kansas, in Lawrence, right? But I promise you, if they do, he will. I promise. If we could put money right now, if we could put money on, if Kansas State goes to Lawrence and wins, will Coleman Hawkins post a troll TikTok? Yes. The answer is yes.
Minus 1,000. I'll be wagering money on that. That's a minus 1,000 if he gets the Jayhawks in Allen Field. What am I thinking? Yeah, if he gets them, it'd be pandemonium. I kind of wanted to get just go back to what you were just saying. It feels like he's got all the skill and all the talent in the world, and it's similar. I'm thinking like when you're describing it, very much like Luka. Like we just saw the NBA Finals, and everybody's getting on Luka. How he could be. He's obviously one of the most talented and probably one of the top 5 basketball players in the world, but his game is limited if he doesn't get his emotions and how he handles his game on the court in terms of asking for fouls, whether he fouled, all that stuff. And if he gets it together, that's basically what you're saying, that he can be a complete player and, dominate.
Yes. I don't think he'll ever – he'll be a dominant player in specific aspects. He's never going to be that guy that takes the ball on the fast break and two-hand crams on a couple guys. But he is a gazelle when he's running. He's gained a lot of strength with Adam Fletcher at Illinois, and his vertical's gotten a lot better. Like I said, he's a sneaky good athlete. Like I said, just on excellent fast break. I almost guarantee you, for the most of the time, he won't finish the fast break. He plays it really well to where those defenders think he's going to go up, and he behind the backs it or whatever. He'll drop it off to somebody, and he can dominate blocking shots, stealing the ball, getting steals, and hitting open threes, which that's going to be big, because you're drawing Hunter Dickinson out to guard him too. Like I guarantee you there'll be moments where he might sneak in at the 5 to make the other team's big have to guard him.
Oh, yeah. Hunter Dickinson's a statue. That's been well established. We've got multiple guys on there that have cooked him for, years now. I wanted to ask you about you. Bob Huggins and Frank Martin, those are all tenured guys that had Brad Underwood as an assistant. And Brad Underwood is your head coach. You've listed what Coleman Hawkins done, and that's all under Brad Underwood. Brad Underwood's a K-State guy. It's all been well established on here, but how would you grade Brad Underwood at Illinois so far? Is he reached what you thought he was going to be when he got hired there first?
Definitely an A. Okay, it's not A+ yet, but again, and I don't think he's gone above my expectations as well. So I want to preface this for K-State fans, because Illinois, when they got rid of Weber, Illinois had missed the tournament, I think 2 years in a row. Okay. So that was crazy for Illinois, because remember how good Illinois basketball was. If you guys remember I just want everybody to know it's like the 20th winningest program in the history of college basketball. So it's a storied tradition, but from 98 to 2006, it was like the 4th or 5th most winning program. So, they the only thing they didn't do in those years, well, actually they did make the national championship game again in 05. So I digress. But, winning Big Tens almost every year, several, like 3 Elite Eights, a national championship game appearance. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, it's like you missed the tournament twice. And then John Gross gets hired. He makes the tournament 1 year, his very first year, and then 4 straight years of no tournament. And then insert Brad Underwood. So that's where he came in. 4 straight years of no NCAA tournament. And within 2 full seasons, he had momentum to where you knew in that 3rd season that they were going to make the tournament. And that was Kofi and Io's sophomore years. And they were just the fun started. I think they were going to get a double bye in the Big Ten tournament for the first time ever, ever in like 20 years. So then COVID hit. That's the thing that. So exactly. So Illinois, we're going to make the tournament for the first time in 5 years, everybody. And then COVID hit, and it's like no NCAA tournament. You know how bad we were? So salty, man. Like we were so salty. We could taste it. We were like, we're back, baby. Selection Sunday. We're about to see our name. And then they were like, oh yeah, no tournament, guys. Oh, that was a long off season, a long summer. And so then we finally, that next year, Illinois was a 1 seed. Won the Big Ten tournament on Selection Sunday in overtime against Ohio State in the Lucas Oil Stadium during those COVID years where, they only allowed like 10% attendance. And then since then, really, it's just been kind of an upward trajectory. So the last 4 years, Brad Underwood has won the most Big Ten games, even more than Matt Painter. Matt Painter has more regular season Big Ten titles, but Brad Underwood has actually won more Big Ten games than Matt Painter. He has 3 Big Ten titles, 1 regular season, 2 conference tournament titles, so 3 total. Again, that's coming from a team who hadn't made the tournament in 4 years when he started. So I would say A, and beyond my expectation. I just wanted to get to be a team that could just make the tournament again, and where you could say maybe we can make a Sweet 16 this year. Now it's like I think we could get to a Final Four soon.
Yeah. And real quick from Justin, Illini fans hope the K-State job never comes open.
Yeah.
Only job I possibly see him leaving for. Well, he flirted with it. He flirted with it when that job was open, and we ended up going the route of Tang. I think he used it as a little bit of positioning to get a raise and an extension at Illinois. And I mean, good for him for doing that. But I think y'all are safe with him for a while as long as Tang keeps cooking.
From what I heard on that too is that, remember, he coached at Western Illinois for many years. His children were born in Illinois. So there is a little bit of that there for him. For sure. And it was like, hey, I got a good thing rolling here. Like he's 60 years old now. Like I'm thinking, I don't think he wanted to, I'm not necessarily saying it would have been a rebuild there, but like he already put those couple hard years in of like, you know what I mean? You're grinding. We got to get this guy. We got to get that guy. We're going to miss a couple more years maybe, and then we're going to get to it. It's like when you're almost 60 years old, I think you just want to do it. You just want to win now. You're not trying to worry about, when I'm 63, we're going to get there. You know what I mean? So,
and from our perspective, he was a critical part of the rebuild of our own program. Like our program wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for Bob Huggins, Brad Underwood, Frank Martin coming in 2006 and doing what they did. And granted, it was just 1 year with Huggins and he hands it over to Martin, but Brad was on all those staffs with Martin for all those years as well. And I think he had 1 year at South Carolina before making the move to SFA. But he
said Illinois has had some great players the last couple of years. You know, it's wild too with Brad Underwood. He's recruited some of the best players in the program history already. He's going to have 3 guys with their jerseys hang up in the rafters in like 6 or 7 years. But he, to this day, he said he thinks, Io in his best year at Illinois, still maybe right under him. And then Terrence Shannon this year, he thinks is the closest just how dominant Terrence Shannon was this year. Was dominant. The 1 year you guys got from the Marcus Beasley. There we go. He said Marcus Beasley was just a man, was just, he said, like, he thinks that most talented dude that he ever coached. And even though it never really worked out for him in the pros, just seeing him as an 18, 19-year-old just do things that nobody else could do is a freak of nature. But he always goes back to those K-State years. Brad Underwood always reminisces about it, about who's the best player you've coached, blah, blah, blah. He always brings up Beasley in those conversations.
Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up another K-State coach that was at Illinois. And so
probably already mentioned him.
So I just want you to rapid fire when I tell you the name Bruce Weber. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, is that good? Okay.
Yeah.
I was happy. I'll say this. Good X and O coach. I can say that. Very good X and O coach. I'm not going to come on here and shit on Bruce as a coach, because if you look at his accolades as a basketball coach, the dude's won tons of games. He's won tons of titles everywhere he's went. He took K-State to an Elite Eight. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day,
two Big 12, or no, just one Big 12 title. No, two. He had two.
I was going to say, so yeah. I know as you guys may laugh or be jaded about him, whatever. I get it. And trust me, Illini fans have that with him too. But if you just take a step back and look at accomplishments, even though it didn't end up being as successful as maybe you guys wanted, or we would have loved for it to end better, I don't think you can question his ability to coach basketball. You don't just win the Valley at SIU a couple times. You don't just win the Big Ten a few times at Illinois. You don't just win the Big 12 at Kansas State a couple times. A little luck involved in there somewhere. He had Bill Self's players too when they got to the Sweet 16 and then the national championship game. But you still got to coach the talent now. Just like he had some of was it Frank Martin's players?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he coached them, even though I think they lost to LaSalle in the first round that 1 year.
Yes, you nailed it.
Was that his second title? Was that after his second title?
That was the first title.
That was
the first title.
And
the second title we lost to UC Irvine.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
both blue and gold.
Yep, I kept up with. I knew he had two disappointing first round losses: UC Irvine and LaSalle. But I did keep up with him because Chester Frazier, who was a beloved Illini, was his assistant there, and who was just an assistant in Illinois for the last 4 years before he went to West Virginia. But I would say good X's and O's coach. The man's won so many different things. Was an assistant with Gene Cady for many years and was, knows the game very well. But just not my cup of tea with how he approaches post game, how he coaches media, and I don't really like how he in game micromanages either. Because he did that a lot in Illinois.
We have so many similar things to say about Bruce Weber, especially like you bring up the post game, his very last post game press conference he had at K-State. He basically shat on the culture about fans being toxic and social media and everything. And we're like, every fan base has toxic fans on social media. You're just seeing it because you're not performing super well right now as a head coach. And it's 3 years in a row or 2 years in a row of you doing that. And it's funny because the two tenures that he had between K-State and Illinois ended fairly similarly in that you missed the tournament a couple of years. Your program has higher expectations for the team, for the program, and you have to cut them loose because it just doesn't seem like that development cycle is going back on the upswing like it was the previous two times that you went to Big 12 championships, at least in our case.
He liked to blame, and he blamed the players a couple of times and threw them under the bus. And you don't really hear coaches do that often. A lot of times, like Brad Underwood will always put it on himself. When they may ask a question about what did you think of so-and-so's leadership today? And a couple of times Brad Underwood has some funny ones where he went, like what did you think of Terrence Shannon's leadership today? One time he went, he was like, that's what I thought of it. but he'll never say he stunk it up. He let us down. There was a couple sound bites from like 2010 or 11 where Weber literally was like, we expect more out of him. Tracy Abrams should have done this and that. And Myers Leonard just disappeared, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Myers Leonard is going to be a first-round pick. He was a lottery pick, and you're throwing him under the bus. It's like
Myers Leonard.
Yes, he was at Illinois, and he was a lottery pick with Bruce Weber. Yeah. Yep, him and Dame Lillard got drafted the same year.
Amazing.
Yep.
Well,
but yeah, anything else you guys got? I think I can answer one more before I hop off here.
yeah, I mean, you've already gotten to the end. That was the last question that we had.
All right.
So last but not least, you're going to get the final word here. So if there's anything else that you want to say about K-State, Illinois, Coleman Hawkins, Brad, Bruce, anything in between, you do that and let the people know too where they can find you and plug whatever you got going on and Keeping It Orange.
It's kind of odd too that how it works out. So I think most of every besides Bill Self, Illinois had, like, think about this: Lon Kruger, K-State head coach, correct, comes to Illinois. Think about that. And then you had Bruce Weber, Illini coach, goes to K-State. You got Bill Self, K-State alum, assistant, comes to Illinois.
Okie State. He was an Okie State alum.
Bill, I didn't mean Bill Self. I meant Brad Underwood. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Brad Underwood, K-State.
Boo, Bill.
Yeah, Bill Self. Yeah. I know he coached Oral Roberts and stuff like that. But I met Brad Underwood is a K-State alum who now comes. There's just so much connection with hoops and K-State and Illinois if you really think about it. It's interesting.
I would love to play. I would love to play Illinois in basketball. I know we played a few years ago in Kansas City in the tournament.
Yeah.
Which that was not a great team at that time that we had. And
you guys got our Mark Smith. You guys might.
We did. We had Mark Smith for that year, but Illinois is a team like I think of teams in college basketball that I'd love to play consistently. Yeah. It's really, it's that K-State connection that kind of makes it a little more interesting. So hopefully at some point we do.
Yeah, definitely, man. That'll be. Other than that, you guys had a great time. I hope you guys are enjoying your huddle experience. I've really had a good time collaborating with some other people. So I did a BYU one because we were talking recruiting, and I just did a one with Eric from the Ohio pod doing some football preview. Take advantage of that, guys. It's great. So I enjoyed coming on here. You can catch our podcast on YouTube at 200 Columns, and then Keeping It Orange and Blue is the name of the podcast, and it's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and my ex name at 200 Columns Rye. So I try to have a good time. I try to have fun, and I hope you guys did today as well.
Absolutely. And again, can't vouch enough for the College Huddle. Chef and Matt have both been on the Ryan's Ohio pod Eric's Ohio pod to talk about a similar situation where we've got a guy, Will Howard, who's transferring for his final year to Ohio State on the football side. So
maybe that's what he was talking about. You guys are a hoot. You guys are a blast. Yeah.
But that's going to do it. Ryan, appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast. For all of us here at Cocaine Willie, thanks for listening and watching. We got 556 people watching us live right now, which is pretty sick. If you are watching live, make your way over to our YouTube, subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. Follow us on all the social medias. Follow Ryan on all the social medias. And then go to the College Huddle, thecollegehuddle.com. Follow them on social media at College Huddle. There's articles, podcasts covering teams from all across the country, all across Division I, including Ryan over at Illinois, Keeping It Orange and Blue. You can follow him at 200 Columns Rye or find his podcast wherever podcasts are found at Keeping It Orange and Blue. You can also follow us individually. I'm at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini. Chef.
That's right. So I'm going to give you guys all some some follows after this. But yeah, man, had a blast, and we'll talk again soon.
We appreciate it.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
We are all coke and no joke. Wildcat Country.
Let's fucking ride.
Let's ride.
Go Seas.
No.